Hi, this is Alex from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today's book is Curious George Learn to Count from 1 to 50 from 2005. So let's get started. This is George. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. This morning, George was curious about numbers. His friend, the man with the yellow hat, had been teaching him to count. Already, George could count to 5 on one hand and 10 on his 2 feet. "Good job, George," said his friend, "but you can count more than your fingers and toes. We are going into town today. I bet you can find a lot of things to count along the way." The number 50 sounded like a lot to George. He was curious. Could he find 50 things to count? First, George counted his bed, 1. Then he counted 2 blankets. He tossed his pillows and counted 1, 2, 3. He counted 4 legs on his bed and 5 pull toys. What else could George count? Why, there was a lot of things in the toy box. There was 6 toy boats, 7 cars, 8 trucks, 9 stuffed animals, and 10 balls. George followed 1 bouncing ball into his friend's room. The man with the yellow hat was getting dressed. George wanted to dress up too. He saw 11 hats to choose from. 12 ties, 13 socks, and 14 shoes. In the bathroom, George's friend had just finished brushing his teeth. "I'm going to make breakfast, George," he said, but George was still busy counting. He counted 15 blue towels, 16 rubber ducks, and 17 shower rings. It was fun to count upside down. Then George drew a surprise for his friend, 18 toothpaste pictures. In the kitchen, George found more things to count. He stacked up 19 plates, 20 bowls, and 21 cups. He arranged 22 straws, 23 napkins, and 24 spoons. Then George counted out 25 blueberries. "Don't forget to count our pancakes," the man said. George counted while his friend flipped 26. When George was full, his plate was empty. He was ready to count outside. In the backyard, George counted 27 clouds floating by and 28 apples on a tree. There was lots to do outside. George played with 29 bugs and 30 acorns. He found 31 snails and arranged 32 sticks to create a design. Then George smelled the daisy and he picked 33. In his front yard, George counted 34 nosy birds and 35 leaves blowing in the air. There was something else in the air, a gust of wind scattering 36 letters with colorful stamps. George counted as he helped pick them up. "It's time to go into town, George," his friend said. "Do you remember how to walk there? You can lead the way." George, curious as ever, took the long way from his house to town. As he walked, he counted 37 houses, 38 chimneys, and 39 trees. Can you follow George's path through his neighborhood? In town, George and his friend saw workers fixing up a building. There was a very tall ladder, and George could not resist. He scampered up 40 past 41 windows. What a view from up on top of the ladder. George counted 42 people. One of them was his friend Bessie. "Hi, George," Bessie said when he climbed down to see her. "Your friend told me you were learning to count." Then George walked Bessie to her school. "Why don't you come inside?" she asked. "There are lots of things to count in here." Bessie was right. There were plenty of things to count in her classroom. While George's friend talked to the teacher. George counted 43 sparkly beads, 44 jars of paste, and 45 crayons. On the table, 46 colorful feathers were laid out. George was curious. What were they for? Bessie's classmates was making hats and decorations for a special celebration. George wanted to make decoration too. In fact, he turned himself into a decorator. Then George's new friend cleared off 47 colorful strips of paper and a lot of glue. "George is counting all the way to 50, Bessie said. "Susan said we can help. How about counting paper clips?" She and her sister, Sarah, helped George find 48. A moment later, the bell rang. Everyone was on the move. George counted 49 wheels. Then it was time for him to go home too. George ran and ran. He ran 50 steps, all the way back to the man with the yellow hat. His friend was so happy to see him. "You did it, George," his friend said proudly. "You used your own 2 feet to count all the way up to 50. So that was Curious George Learned to Count from 1 to 50 from 2005. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment. Have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.